Welcome, everyone. It's great to be opening DDD Melbourne. Tonight's going to be a bit different than some of my usual talks, because tonight I'm going to ignore everything I always tell aspiring speakers. So either this is going to go off really well, or it's going to be a great case study when I tell people to never do things like live coding. So what could possibly go wrong? Because I occasionally do a select everything and then delete it. All right. So let's do not that one. Finite state machines. Let's go talk about finite state machines. Finite state machines are this ancient tech. One of the first things people did when they found out about computers. So we're talking sort of late 50s when you saw the first sort of time this was mentioned. And then in the general software development community, we basically forgot about it for a couple of decades. And only recently is it starting to come back into sort of different forms. It's been around in a lot of other places, and I'm going to talk to some of those examples. But a finite state machine is really super simple. It is a function that takes in state and some input, and it returns state. Right? That's what a state machine is. How can that be interesting or worth talking about? Well, give me 15 minutes and hopefully I'll have you convinced. One of the great things that finite state machines force you to do is to think about state. And we don't sort of do that sort of often enough and sort of well enough, and this sort of forces you into a lot of things. Is this still readable in the back? Yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm assuming all of the online people can also read this. Let me know if you can't. So if I told you that, so is this a good way? This is TypeScript, by the way, JavaScript. There's very little JavaScript, TypeScript specific stuff in there. So if we do a type for let's do an interface like light. Is this a good way to model a light, like one light bulb? This is where you all say, no, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible because we can't do quantum mechanics on light bulb size levels. Not yet, indeed. Yeah, exactly. So what you're able to do here is you're allowed to model the state of a light in a way that's impossible, that is invalid, right? You can model this as both being on and off at the same time. Right? So let's take things sort of one step further and sort of go do an interface for a traffic light. Is this a good way to model a traffic light? Why do you say it depends on what country you're in?
Maybe in the UK it's possible to have orange
or orange. Yeah, so there are countries in which you can have both red and orange on at the same time. It's used for it's between red and green, right? So it's a orange goes on and then it goes green. even in that particular case, this is still a terrible way to model that traffic light. Sure, we're simplified things, like, but this is because even in your case where two lights need to be on, this is still a terrible way to model that state, because we can model things in a way that are invalid, right? Because red and green should never be on at the same time, right? So I'm going to do colors. See, just an appreciation that I'm typing the like Australian sort of Englishy things now. I'm very proud of myself. So the color is either like red or green or orange, right? And in the case of the UK, it can be like red plus orange, right? It's a separate sort of state that this can be in. And now we're in a state where everything is sort of fine again, right? So let's take this one step further and start thinking about a T-junction, right? So if we start thinking about a junction, like how are we going to sort of model that? And that's sort of like where things sort of get sort of tricky. So instead of doing an interface, we're going to do this slightly sort of easier. Why is my keyboard screwed? There it is. So if we look at sort of this thing here, a T-junction, can we sort of start to think about, and we're talking about like a super simple example, right? Like there's one light, so one of these can be green, so they're both for straight and turn, sort of all of these, right? So what are the states that should be valid in that particular scenario? People want to yell out one. All off, yeah, like that means the sort of system is off, but yeah, all off. I wouldn't like to go into a traffic with all green, no. Flashing amber, your guys doing all of the ones that I'm not going to be covering, and it's okay. Yeah. Let's get all the edge cases in there. Red and orange on. Let's also keep it at red, orange, and green, but like red and orange for what? Oh yeah, so I'm looking at like what are all the particular variations? Yes. Sorry, no. Like one can be green, right? So either this is sort of straight and sort of a turn.
Like red, green, red, green, red, red, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we have like just sort of call them north green, and the other one's red. East green, south green. What are other ones? All red, yep. One orange, yep. One orange, yeah. So we're talking about just do this one here. North orange. Ah, that is an excellent question. And Sorry, the question was, are these all separate states, or are they? Great question. Like, should these be separate states? Yes. Because what's the thing? The other thing, and that's why it's an excellent question. An excellent question is immediately answered by either the next slide or the next topic. Because the next thing that we can think about now is transitions. If we take north green, what is the only valid transition that we have? North orange. And what's the only valid transition out of north orange? All red. And obviously it's the same for all of these, right? East green to east orange to all red, south green to south orange, and south orange to all red. And what are the valid transitions out of all red? Any of the greens, right? So we're talking about north green, south green, and east green. So, what I am going to do is put these into sort of JavaScripty sort of types. And I'm just going to go and grab this one here for now. This is going to help us. So the other thing you might sort of pick up, there's some cool TypeScript tricks in here. Go away, Zoom thing. So, valid colors are red, green, and orange. And so, remember, this was the state that I said was a terrible way to model things, right? Remember that one? This is a terrible state. The only reason I'm doing this is so that we can make it easier to create the actual states, right? So I'm going to ignore the first two, as I've said before, but we can create an interface north green state where north is green. Well done. East is red and south is also red. Right? Does this make sense? Yeah. One of the amazing things is that you can take this and talk to non-developers. Right? They get this. There's no code in here. Right? You can have really meaningful conversations with non-developers, non-technical people about this domain logic that you're automating now. Right? So, in the interest of time, here's the sort of all red one. I'll just copy and paste all of them. Like, they're all various variations. The correct variations. So the reason I've done the extends junction state base in this particular case is to make sure I can't accidentally do this sort of stuff, right? So it's to help me with what we're doing. So then, once we have this state, and we have in here, what we do is we have all possible states. All right. So here we have defined junction state as the junction can be in any of these states and nothing else. Right. And this is what's going to help us write a state machine. So now we can do export a function finite state machine, and it takes a junction state and some input, and it returns a junction state. Oh, I was about to mention, I had a copy of this somewhere. There it is. So for right now, we just return the state. So what we can now do is start thinking about sort of logic, right? So what we can do is, and TypeScript has some great support for this, but what I do is create small little functions that make things sort of explain things, right? So let's create a function is green, which takes a is one green. And you can go is state north green or east green or south green. Why are we not liking this?
State is.
Oh, state is. There we go. And now it says it's not returning properly. And then what you can do in here, and again, write really simple logic, right? If one is green, right, make it go orange and return that. Yeah. And again, what we write here is just our the core logic of our system, whether that's traffic lights or sort of wizards, for example, are these great things where people go back and forth, are all workflows where multiple things can be in multiple states at the same time, are great things for finite state machines. Because what mocks do we need to test this? None. Who loves mocks? No one. Because they break all the time. Yeah, this is a pure function. You can create any state, you can give it any input, and then see if your logic is correct. Yeah? Thank you very much.
You just started clapping without me prompting a clap, which means I'm doing my job right. I've trained you well. This is good. No, thank you so much, Erwin. That was great.